setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. That's what the system says. Good evening, everyone, and welcome all of you to another live conversation. And today, uh, I must wish all of you here a very happy Gandhi Jayanti, a very happy birth anniversary to Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri. And in fact, you would be happy to know that it is a birthday for our guest as well, Debashish ji. It is his birthday as well. So to begin with, let me tell you why we wanted to do this program. This program, which is about real, maybe a story, maybe an experience, maybe something that the parents of children with special needs would like to share, would like to connect with other fellow parents, with just one intention, that probably some of the experiences that we have, some of the thoughts and feelings that we navigated, that we all felt at some point of time, can be an example, can be a resource, can be an inspiration. It can be just giving a feeling that you, as a parent, you, as someone who might be feeling different, might be feeling low at some point of time, you are certainly not alone. And this planet where we all are, where we have children, where we have people who have some special needs, who require some special care, where we as professionals, you as parents, all of us invest ourselves in this whole world of their own, are not alone. We are all together here, and we are here to support each other, nurture each other, help each other grow and develop a little more than we are anyhow doing. This program not meant for is not intending to prescribe you something specific, recommend you some center or a therapy, but is rather an open ended, like an open letter, like a bearing your heart kind of a program, where we invite people who have been there, who have spent some time, who have seen this very closely. And if we hear them, if we understand their own story, their own incidences, circumstances, their own life uh, circumstances that they might have gone through, probably it will help us in some way or the other in our life. Today, we thought that why not have a father who has been there on planet autism. Usually it is said that, or usually it is seen that the mothers are invested, the mothers are there, the mothers are visible all the time with children. They are the ones carrying children to the therapy centers, to the school, maybe fighting some wars. But I, my team, we all know that this fight, whether visible or not, is actually a fight or a war or a battle or a struggle of the whole family. The fathers, wherever they are involved, they are right there, they are trying to do or put these things together, but usually they are the ones who are not visible. They are the ones who take up the responsibility to run the whole show, probably, but they are the ones who are not there physically, visually present. So we thought that why not invite a father? Why not listen to his perspective? Let's understand all fathers around, all the fathers that are there, whether visually or not. Let's understand their perspective as well. Maybe we would be more understand better, we will be more closer to the family as a whole. than to just to the mother or just to the caregiver or just to the one particular person who is there or visible more. So having said that, I invite the guest today, Debashish ji, welcome to this live conversation. And I'm very happy that you have consented, you have agreed to come to this kind of a live program. I understand that you are not someone who is very much, very openly talking about or holding a lot of live conversations, but you have agreed to be on my request. You have honored us to be here. So welcome once again. And again, like I said, wish you a very happy birthday as well from all of us.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you very much to have me on your program. And I know it's a holiday, so I don't know how many people are out there. But nevertheless, I think your line of thinking, I really appreciate very much, because fathers, somewhere they become the non-playing captain of the team. And our children, special needs children, actually need a team to work together. And both will have to be playing as well as non-playing. In some occasion you are non-playing and sometimes you're playing. So both the parents, the grandparents, the siblings, the close family friends, they all, and of course, I'm not talking about the therapists and the special educators, the school team, but what happens outside of the therapy sessions, outside of the school, outside of the professional sort of expertise, what happens to the child is something which we want to talk about. And there you are right in the starting point that you mentioned, that it is usually the mothers who are fronting it. They are the ones who are meeting the therapists. They are the ones who are, working out IEP plans, and take almost the visible responsibility stays with them. Of course, fathers play a very, continue to play a very important role, in spite of their professional business commitments, career commitments. All of them do. But the question is, should they continue to be the non-playing captain, or should they be the 12th man, as in to use cricket language, or should they be really right in the middle of the field, shoulder to shoulder with the others in the team? So I really appreciate your angle that you've chosen, and that's why. And I said this is really relevant for the times that we are in to talk about.
Sure. So, having said that, Devashish, like we said that fathers are there and they are very much there, and I believe that we say that the basis of any family, and we say, there are two wheels of this vehicle. That is how it goes through. And having said that, what do you think, in your view, there could be some thoughts or feelings that fathers usually have, which are actually a little difficult, a little challenging for them, something that they take some time to navigate it through? What could be those
Yeah.
those feelings
So
and thoughts?
see, most of us men are raised in a certain way. Our education goes in a certain direction to get into a career. Early success is today, very much required. And obviously the entire responsibility, or not entirely always, but to a large extent of the responsibility of the financial side is on the fathers, So there is a certain, direction in which we take, because the way we are raised, whatever we have seen in our childhood, etc. And then we finish our education, then we get into careers, and then we have our business or professional careers. So we take them on, and then we get immersed in that, and it is necessary because the competition is huge, and I've already mentioned the financial pressures, your own ambition in your particular profession, and or your business becomes uppermost for you. So you are driven in that direction because that's what we know, that's what we have learned, and that's what we have seen our own dads doing and others doing. That's why the society is always telling are you successful, or the media is all the time screaming at top 10 best jobs, best placement from MBA schools, uh, the top companies, top CEOs, so we are just sort of surrounded with this massive noise that around us. So वो एक direction हम ले लेते हैं, but then suddenly when you have a special child, that direction needs a complete rehaul. You have to sort of redirect your whole vision from that point onwards. So and then that redirection or the whole adapting to the sudden change from whatever you expected, what was your trajectory, usual trajectory, your friends and your cousins and all of that is suddenly gone awry. And now there are new sort of questions which come to you, and they are very deep questions, and these don't get resolved in a short time. So abhi wo kya hota hai, every father would go through that, because on one side there is this, and then now there is a complete change required in how you're going to view your way forward. And obviously in all of this, your spouse is playing a very important role. You are in conversation, but your direction, the way it is set, is very different from perhaps the spouse's direction. In most cases, I'm not saying in every case it would be the same, but generally that is the pattern.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good kind of an insight. At least there has to be some way of giving words to these kind of thoughts and feelings, because probably everybody experiences it, everybody knows it, but the first thing about connecting, the first thing about resolving any kind of things is to kind of give it some words and try to put it across, is the first kind of a principle. So having said that, Debashish ji, whenever you had those kind of thoughts, feelings, challenging perspectives for yourself, what did you do? How did you cope with such kind of a thing?
So like I said, it's not something which will happen in the short term, but you'll have to begin that, I had to begin that process. And as you know, which is, much written about, talked about in this space, the special needs space by experts, is that what about acceptance? Now, this is the sort of monster in the room, which we call acceptance, and it is there with you all the time, So because of this, what I said, the direction changes, that is required. You are faced with this thing of how do I now, because, subconsciously and consciously, you will have to grapple around this issue of acceptance, that this is my situation, this is my child's situation, this is what is options available. How do I now steer through this? And the very important thing that I want to underline is, everybody says about acceptance of the child and, then move forward. Okay. But it is not just acceptance for yourself. The problem is because the way we are, our society is, it is also to do with the whole family. It is not about one individual, ever. It is about the whole family, because we are all, the way we are in our Indian kind of family system, the family, everybody close to you are involved in that issue, right? So there is a acceptance which is needed, and I think that's where one of the parents or both the parents will have to play the lead role in catalyzing that acceptance. And this is where an external specialist help, whether it is a therapist or a counselor or whoever, or a dear friend, can help, because to sort of guide you through that conflict phase of what should I do. ऐसा मेरे साथ ऐसे क्यों हुआ है? It's a big tragedy only, nothing else. That gloominess, that sense of isolation, that sense of helplessness, ये जो आपको पूरा wrapping you around ना, that's what you'll have to cut through. And that's not easy. That process takes time, and you have to give time. External inputs will of course help, in stimulating, but ultimately it is your responsibility. You have to take charge of that. Both the father and the mother will have to come together on that, and then take that forward in acceptance of the child, the way he or she is. Number one. Number two, then catalyze, like I said, the family system. Then they will also begin to engage and accept that, and positively then play a role in the going forward of the child. And another thing, important thing in this context of acceptance, which we don't normally talk about, जो मैंने शुरू में बोल रहा था कि I have read people talking about this issue of acceptance, which is the first thing that hits you. But it's also for the child, as the child is growing. And this is not about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. This is going to stay on for a while. This whole conflict phase, I call this the conflict phase. The child should also see that he or she is accepted. The child may not be able to communicate to us as neurotypical children do, but हम लोगों को उसको महसूस पूरा हो रहा है, और ये बहुत important है. So, like we say, justice not only should be, delivered, but should be seen to be delivered. So similarly, acceptance, great if you accomplish that over a period of time, and your family does so. But even in the eyes of the child, he or she must feel accepted. So there has to be a visible, tangible gesture, expression of love, feeling of being safe. Very important for the child to constantly absorb that he or she is in a safe, loved environment. Acceptance is the first step to love and feeling safe. That's the first step. That's why I'm emphasizing so much about acceptance. Agar acceptance nahi hai, so then everything else will be on a very shaky ground. So that's what we have to first ensure that is cemented.
Yeah. So, like we were discussing in the beginning about fathers especially, what do you think, from your experience, that fathers specifically can take up if they have the intention and they have decided they would like to do something? What is it they should be doing, they should be trying to do to ensure some kind of a coping overall?
Yeah, this one is a big question. Now, I just wanted to talk a little about what I had mentioned to you. I'm in the process of writing a book, actually, with a twofold objective. Why am I writing this book? This is connected to your question. Hence, I shall sort of, talk a little about it. So, this whole thing of, how do we build a bridge between the world of Asperger and autism and the neurotypical world, which is our regular world. Yeah. Right now, ये दोनों एकदम, it's, this is so fundamental to the issue of acceptance and of going forward, with the child. This bridge that, uh, what about this child, you know, that makes him very much like us, very much like, all of us. ये जो, once that bridge is made, it's a difficult bridge to make. So my book is intended to make that bridge. So it is not a technical book. Obviously, it is not a, um, it's not an academic research book, nothing like that. It is about based on our own experiences, and watching others, other children, other parents, both in India, and I've traveled a lot overseas. So I've been to schools in England and the US and Japan. So I have had some major observations of how it is done. So from there, drawing the insights and putting it together to address this thing about how do we bridge. So that is one intent. The other is, of course, to help younger parents who are coming into this planet. So how do they steer it, and how do I make it easier for them to steer through this? So that's the intent of this book. So I will just read a very little portion to highlight what you just asked about what can fathers do, and this will actually open up a little this issue. So I have a chapter called The Social Mountain that this child has to now climb, right? And with him, the parents are involved, siblings are involved in that social mountain. So I'm just reading a little piece. So there is an English gentleman settling into his window seat with much contentment written on his face, as is usually universal as you slide into a window seat on a long flight. Yes, this was a long flight from Calcutta to London. It was 5 hours flight, right? My 10-year-old boy and I were already strapped up in comfort in the immediate back row. And Noel was fascinated by the safety instruction manual, and he appeared to be completely absorbed in the illustrations and graphics. He used to be so visually stimulated by those kind of images. So he was like, going through this manual with deep concentration. Life was peaceful after all the hustle and bustle and tension of check-ins, immigration formalities, etc. So I just shut my eyes and reclined in my seat. Our co-passenger ahead of us suddenly turned his head and shot at me. He says, "Tell him to stop that right now." All of a sudden, the boy had started kicking the front seat. So he was sitting right behind the English gentleman, and he was kicking under the seat. So it was, obviously irritating for somebody to be kicking your seat from the back. And all of a sudden, this whole indulgence with peace was shattered, that momentary peace that I was in. And I just could not control the boy. He just loved the drum beat like sound produced by the rhythmic kicking. So thud, and he just will not stop. I tried the usual parent strategies of distracting him with things that he found more interesting, but it didn't work. I'll give you this, the usual things that, we do. And, there's obviously a social situation, lots of people moving about, looking at us, all of that happening. So finally, I held Noel's legs firmly, to prevent him from kicking. But he just quietly waited for me to finally, leave my grip. And then he was back. Then he started again. So even then, of course, like most parents, we end up doing, which is we resort to threatening.
Right. Yes.
So I threatened him. I said, "Now see, you will be deboarded from this plane. आपको बाहर निकाल दिया जाएगा. आप ये plane में नहीं जा सकते." And all this while, everybody is giving me hard looks. you've spoiled the boy, and he's such a brat, and all of those kind of things were happening. Now in this situation, there's a pain that happens, for the father or the parent accompanying. There's a certain social humiliation. There is a sense of defeat. I cannot stop this fellow. I don't want to come through as an aggressive. I don't want to be an aggressive with him. I don't want to be aggressive. So then the other stream of feelings also start, the feeling of guilt and feeling really small because of the threats and warnings that I had resorted to in order to control the boy.
Yeah.
So it was wrong on my part to be threatening him. At the same time, that I'm caught in this whole social humiliation. So ordinary social behavior in ordinary situations was entirely alien to this boy, right? But one could say that he was deeply impaired in the subject of social skills, something that people function with so naturally, right? Another way of seeing this is that, now this is the important part. He was a different kind of boy. He felt free. He never could understand that as long as he does not hurt anyone, why is it that people are so unaccepting of his fun, trivial acts? He could never fathom how his gentle kicking was an unacceptable social behavior. Why was this man getting so angry and getting so troubled? How could it be such a grave situation? Now, and how could it be the cause, for so much of trouble to my father? So that's just the beginning of that whole chapter which I just read. So what I'm saying is that we have to, the first thing that how do dads cope is that you have to train yourself first. That this comes through acceptance, through thinking solutions out of the box, taking some help from therapists like you and other behavior therapists. What is it that I have to do now in this situation? Should I, surrender to this whole social humiliation and get angry and frustrated and, with the child and punish him? What should I do? So to cope is basically to train yourself of how am I going to manage situations like this and let the social, aspect not become such a severe sort of arrow that is piercing us all the time. This is one of the biggest blocks. We don't take our child to, restaurants or to, social situations or family get-togethers. But I think that's what we have to do. The more the child participates and is seen outside, and he also will learn, and he, that whole sense of togetherness, partnership, acceptance, is so fundamental to making that change happen, and fathers play a key role in this,
Yeah. Sure. It definitely looks like something, a book that would be looked forward to by so many parents,
I
because
do hope.
it really needs to be, not just a talk of bilateral talk of two parents.
Yeah.
I'm sure parents must be discussing all these things when they have their own WhatsApp groups and what they have their own personal contact. But when you say that, it is actually very enlightening, because as a professional also we talk about these things. We talk about, our books definitely mention acceptance, but what is it that we are meaning by it? What's the tangible here that we are looking at? And what is the actionable behind those abstract words is something that not every parent, I'm sure, and also professional, let me tell you, that we do not understand, because we haven't been there. We are on the other side. We are probably who would have children coming to us in a specialized setting that is meant for therapy or interventions, and then we have that interaction which is uh, much more uh, self-contained, so to say. And if we haven't really spent that those moments, or we haven't spent our life with children apart from therapies, we are definitely someone who still need a little input from the parents side. This is what the intention of this program is also, that on one side we want parents to connect and have some sharing of perspective, but on the other side we also want professionals to know what does it look like, what does it look like to not having acceptance, or what does it look like to have a journey of acceptance, because that's something beyond a textbook.
Okay,
And your book
let me try
like
to
something. Yes, yes,
simplify this very abstract thought,
yeah,
that we're talking about. Acceptance is, very simply put, he or she is now part of you. Bas,
yeah,
there is no separation.
yeah,
He's part of you.
yeah,
And that does not mean कि now, this whole great responsibility you're now thrusting upon me. वो नहीं है.
yeah,
He's part of you means as much as you think or worry about just about anything, he's part of that. Just as you celebrate anything, he's part of that. Just
yeah,
as you appreciate the beauty of innocence of children, he is that.
yeah,
He
yeah,
is that. He's the manifestation of innocent beauty. He is this, the person who is going to love you most
mm,
if you give him love and accept without any conditions attached. You have to accept him. And that acceptance, the way you are, you're beautiful. The way you are makes me happy. Okay?
yeah, yeah,
Now, that's the starting point. I'm not saying that this means that you are going to be supremely indulgent with everything and accepting all his, some of his, social behaviors, which may need to require handling and have to be streamlined.
mm-hmm,
Or he's accelerating his learnings. Those are, of course, have to be done. But, unless this foundation is strong enough, you cannot build. Those things will show up later. Learning difficulties will show up later. Toileting issues, what a complex issue it will show up later. अगर आप early में ये जो foundation आप पहले तैयार करो, ये सबसे बड़ा चीज है. इसके बाद ना things can be built on it. You can build new structures, new things on it, and then the child also begins to respond to everything that you're going to do.
yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
So in case of our son, we swimming, cycling, tennis, squash, things which we thought he would never be able to do in the initial stages, till we got into this mode of total acceptance and total love and total safety.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I can say that all of this paid off actually, because he did become a very confident child. Very confident. And of course music, and music was of his natural talent, and he took to, and now you have technology which enables our children to indulge in music so much, then drawing, painting, all of those things. But yeah, so there is so much that is possible once the foundation is strong. That's what, if I have to say, how do you simplify this abstract thought?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is. Acceptance is the foundation, and acceptance foundation means he's part of you, and he's the center of all that you can do, all that love can do, is what he is about.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for those wonderful thoughts. So I have a kind of not really a question, but a comment on the FB Live feed. This is a question and comment from Meera Masarat. And she says, "Sir, most of the parents feel social stigma if the child is having any child disability like autism, intellectual, or Down syndrome. They hesitate to saying and coming forward. So it stops there. I assume that it's like a comment that is inviting a comment from you, if you may want to add something to it.
You know, she's
About the
right.
stigma. Yeah.
She's right. It
Yeah.
is a stigma, you know, and it is very visible, very tangible, you know. So when I told you that you know, I used to go to the swimming pool. Of course, there are people who would, you know, discriminate, make, you know, callous comments. वो सब होता था. वो सब तो, but natural तो होगा, because the way to think about it is the way we are, you know, brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why slightly, you know, the important point to note is even in the special schools, regular schools with special section, you know, the regular school kids are not sufficiently exposed to the issues of special children. You know, it's not like what you see in some of the American schools, the Western schools. There is super integration. We talk integration, but वो integration कुछ होता नहीं है हमारा. Actually नहीं होता है. इंडिया में तो नहीं होता है अभी. I'm willing to be challenged on this, you know, by anyone. Actually नहीं होता है. तो क्या हो रहा है ना? The parents of those children are also not integrated. So as a consequence, because you're a minority group and you're facing the majority group who has no sensitization, has no understanding of these issues, has no compassion, that's why the stigma persists, because it lack of education, lack of sensitization. That's it. So you will have to begin to view it like that and not get, you know, hassled by that or agitated by that or feel fearful about that or feel, you know, humiliated by that. In fact, it should embolden you, because they don't have that education. They have not been brought. They may, you know, when I say education, it's not about degrees and, you know, qualifications, obviously, but हमारे system में, cultural system में नहीं है ना, वो missing है. Western world में नहीं है. At least, you know, or या Japan में तो नहीं है. No question, because बचपन से they are exposed to that integration. So they don't even know what you're talking about. You know, very often I've encountered situations with people from those kind of societies. They don't understand what I'm talking about. ये आपने जो बोला ना अभी, it's something which is very much in our cultural system. But actually बाहर तो नहीं है. फिर क्यों नहीं है उधर? Why is it not there? They don't even understand what I'm saying when I said a stigma. They said something, we don't understand what you're saying. I had talked about this, exactly what the lady is asking, just to say what they sense. It's not there. By and large, it's not there. Of course, there'll be pockets of it. That's okay. But it's very much mainstreaming. Special needs children and adults are very much mainstream. We have to arrive at that. Abhi hua nahi hai hamare yahan. We don't have it. And therefore, you have to. So you are in the stage where we will have to face this, you know, perception and, you know, this whole stigma associated and all that rubbish. But you have to rise above that, no? You will have to rise above that. You will have to recalibrate yourself. आपके दिमाग में वो स्टिग्मा है कि नहीं, पहले आप ये सोचो. अगर नहीं है, total acceptance है, then you can dismiss any shit that people are talking about. You have to embolden yourself and you have to know where it is coming from. It's not just an attitude I'm talking about. It is actually, I feel sorry for them because they have been completely deprived. You know, this whole understanding and empathy, they have been deprived.
Sure. Yeah. Very, very thoughtful, actually. Very thoughtful of So I have another question from a viewer, and I think some of it or most of it you must have already covered. But if you have any other points, this is a question from Rajarshi Dasgupta, and he says that looking forward to some insight into the challenges of parents of an autistic child. So it just says that I'm sure the whole topic today has been around that itself. But just in case you feel there is something that you would like to talk about challenges of parents, something that you would like to add on beyond what you must have already kind of discussed about. If you have anything, you can definitely add on to it.
See, this question is actually slightly different plane altogether. And the challenges arise because of the lack of resources and opportunities available to in our system, because this is a very low priority area. Of course, we are seeing changes in the positive direction. There is a legal framework now available. There are rights of under the law now available to our special people, and children, special children's education. All of those are happening, but we're a long way still off, na? Because ये सब तो किताबों में है, law में है, पर उसका implementation, quality of school support, तो वो सब बहुत बड़ा challenge है. So this is the larger sort of challenge in the whole system that we have. But we are making progress, but little by very, very in small degrees, but progress is happening. So consequently, what happens is, because you have one life and you have to make it happen, system is not going to change in your lifetime, right? And we can, if there are small changes, okay, great. But there's lots to do, in this area. So what happens is, willy-nilly, the challenge is that it will be your responsibility. It will have to be done by you. It is unfortunate, but you will have to do it with the help of your family and friends and good special educators and therapists. You have to make it happen. So that's a very big challenge, because you also have to, let's not forget, you still have your own career to manage, your business to manage, your family commitments, your elderly parents, your social commitments. All of that is going on, right? So in a summary way to put it, I would say that you have to you have to have a sort of double life. You have to live two lives. One which is committed to your special needs child or children, and the other one is the regular life that you have to lead, and the usual commitments that you have to meet. So you will have to lead a double life. It is a lot of responsibility, but the biggest thing about this responsibility is, like I have said, the rewards are unstoppable. Once you get to the right direction, the right resources, the right kind of people you have connected with, then the rewards are amazing. And that's the joy. That's bigger than anything else. And of course, you have to have an inexhaustible store of love.
Sure.
Something that just वो बैटरी का ऐड है ना, ये रुकता ही नहीं है,
चलती जाए.
Duracell batteries, चलती जाएगी. So you have to have that kind of energy and that kind of love for your child or children, so that you can go through all of these very daunting responsibilities and challenges. You have to do it. You will have to steer it yourself.
Sure.
And that's the challenge.
I have another good kind of a comment question from Chandana Agarwal, and she says, since most kids with special needs do not have friends, how do you manage their social needs? Who do you invite for their birthday, for example? Whom do you invite for their birthday.
Yeah, uh, it's a very important part of your strategy for his social development. This is what I'm saying, that there is everything that you do for a neurotypical or your, so-called regular child, um, who does not have any, who is, blessed with all the uh, talent and, all the capabilities, you have to do for the other child also. You have to do. And so whether it's a birthday party or whether he's, like I said earlier, taking him out to a social function or to a wedding or to a restaurant for a meal or to a club for, obviously club for sports activities, you have to. Only then uh, he has his social needs and he has to feel comfortable doing that, and you have to feel comfortable doing that.
Mm.
And then only he will grow in the social dimension. It will take time, but you will learn his social skills. And then there are so many, techniques, etc., which I'm of course not going into now, that are available to adapt and to use therapists and specialists to help you structure those. But शुरू में तो आपको social activities में उसको absolutely you'll have to bring him into that or her into that to the extent that is, and actually to the extent भी बोलना नहीं चाहिए, you just have to do it. You'll have to break those boundaries, you'll have to get over those barriers.
Sure. Yeah.
And you will have to swallow some of the odd situations that you will encounter. Like I said, you will have to do that. That's okay.
Yeah.
And you will have to feel okay about doing it also.
Yeah.
You take him to a party and he keeps asking for chips, for example.
Yeah.
He doesn't know, he doesn't know that this is actually socially odd or not apt for the situation.
Yeah.
It's okay. Now there are techniques available to coach him that. But just because of that, I'm just giving an example. There's so many situations that one can imagine. But that should not prevent you from taking him out, no? From doing it.
True. Yes. Definitely.
This reminds me of this book. You must have, or some of our audience members might have come across this book, The Reason I Jump. Have you come across it? The Reason I Jump. So it's written by this 13-year-old autistic boy.
Okay.
And in Japanese, and then it got translated in English. So then it became then it was published in the English language. David Mitchell, who is a well-known Irish writer, he writes a foreword here.
Mm-hmm.
So he says that this is not for the faint-hearted. Raising a child of special needs is not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
You have to be strong-willed. You have to. But the point is that we are not that all of us are not faint-hearted. Most of us are faint-hearted when we start off. But you'll have to transform yourself from that faint-hearted, the nonsense which people are going to, hurl at you. And you have to make yourself strong enough not to, get disturbed and affected by all of this. So he says that it is not for the faint-hearted. So I'm saying we are faint-hearted, but we have to overcome that.
Transform ourselves. Yes. Of course. So there's another good kind of a request. Narpita Yadavji is asking, for a young parent, especially a young father who just got a diagnosis, one message that can come from you for such a father, young parent who just got a diagnosis. especially for the father, she says.
I think, see, it's a very difficult moment, okay, to for the father and for the mother. It's a very difficult moment, and we have to respect that. Okay? Because why is it a difficult moment? Because we're not prepared for it. We don't expect it, right? We're not prepared for it. We have not been raised to handle this sort of situation. So for every parent, every father, every mother, it is a unique situation. We must know that. Nobody is prepared for it. And very often you'll encounter, parents saying that I heard this label, whatever the label is given by the doctor, or the therapist, that label he or she is hearing for the first time. Asperger syndrome, never heard of it. And so forth, right? So it is a very difficult moment, very fragile moment. So, and it's a very deeply emotional moment. So if I have to say just one thing, that first of all, one thing so the baat nahi banta. It's a conversation always, but I would say this, that, you have to become super strong, super dad. And you know what? You become super strong, super dad. And the thing is, you will find so much joy and the rewards once you can recalibrate yourself, which I said right in the beginning. You have to set the direction. It is going to be your greatest source of happiness. बहुत challenges हैं, बहुत मुश्किलें हैं, but वो जो happiness आपको मिलेगा ना एक इसी जिंदगी में, वो मुझे लगता नहीं कि और किसी तरह मिल सकता है. मुझे तो नहीं लगता. You can get many other material, achievements and success in your career, your profession, and but somehow I feel that joy is irreplaceable. And why is it? The important thing to understand is that people might think that I'm making an extreme statement. No, because I'm saying what is the process? The process is recalibration. That's why we say planet autism, for example. We say that, right? Because your whole thinking is now have to be recalibrated. It has to change because you're not prepared for this. None of us are prepared for it. So if you're not prepared for it, how do you deal with it? You have to completely redefine the way you look at life, your own ambitions, your goals, your own character, your personality. Everything has to be recalibrated, and it cannot be done in short term. Don't think it will happen. But se kuch nahi hoga. You will have to work yourself at it continuously. And good friends help. Very important. To have good friends. Sometimes those friends can be within your family. Striking a rapport with good special educators in early stages. There are, amazing, to see that there are such gifted special educators. I have met, extraordinary human beings, right? So there is, and they actually come to you, and you have to, work on this recalibration with other people's inputs also, while you're also working on yourself. And now we are in the internet age. In the mid-90s, when we were encountering this, there was no internet facility to the extent that we have, right? We don't have so much access. We didn't have. So I had to actually, after the initial diagnosis, I went crazy, and we went to UK to meet consultants and doctors and psychologists, and we did the whole drill. But today you don't have to travel. right? There's so much resources on the net. So that is a positive side of it. But anyway, to come to the point, so you just have to recalibrate. It's a very, very fragile moment. You know, and you have to count on some close friends.
Sure. We just have time for one last, again, a comment come question. I would not say it's a question really. This is from Farman Parvez, and she says, "Sir, if our neurotypical children have lots of behavior issues, and other side our special children have behavior issues, why people observe only special children and not normal children?
Sorry, what is the last bit?
Why people observe?"
Observe.
I understand that as why people are so disturbed, probably, or so get aware about the issues or behavior issues of special children, while given the fact that even neurotypical children show lots of behaviors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. They do. There is so much of aggressive behavior.
Yes. Yeah.
There is so much of abusive behavior.
Yes.
So you see that, especially in adolescent kids, and you see that all the time. That's part of that, no? Because the society is conditioned to view special needs people in a separate box. तो वो जब कुछ करता है तो वो that gets a lot of negative attention.
Ji. Ji.
And that's the way the society is. There's no answer for this because they are deprived of being sensitized. The same situation when we have encountered in other societies.
Ji.
I've never got that reaction or for the same kind of behavior elsewhere. Of course, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं होता है, but I think in India right now, in the situation that we are in, it's more acute. Yeah. But there is no reason. Your counter argument, if somebody is saying this to you, you will have to just say that. Doesn't your 14-year-old behave like this, or your 14-year-old behave like this?
Sure.
You have to. I mean, if you want to say something, then you have to say that, because they don't realize it. So you have to make people realize it.
Since we have a minute more, I want to include this very relevant question. And Ruchika Sethi says, Devashish, how does a parent manage if the spouse does not accept a disability?
Get him to talk to me.
Yeah, sure.
Because somebody has to help him.
Yeah.
He needs help.
Yeah.
So you have to find a person who can help him.
Yeah. I'm sure. That's the crux there, that somebody has to help. It should not be left on to the spouse itself to kind of make sure that the acceptance for the disability comes. Yeah. So there are.
But I want Ruchika's response to that answer.
Yeah. Sure. Let me tell you that it has your conversation, your thoughts have been very, very well received. I can see that the Facebook Live is abuzz with lot of wishes to you, birthday wishes, with lot of appreciation about your words. Lot of parents have quoted your words from the conversation and have put them into comments to say how they relate to these comments, all the words that you have used. I'm happy to share, and you would be able to see those comments yourself also later on in the comment box. But let me tell you, whether hesitatingly or whatever effort you would have done internally to be able to come to this kind of a conversation, it has really been enlightening. It has really been touching. It has really been amazing to be uh, be connected and hear those words coming out for you. So from my side, thank you so much for coming and joining. And I think the objective of the program has really been fulfilled today with your kind words. Yeah.
Thank you
So
for your words of appreciation.
thank
And
you so much. Thank you so much. And we just had this much amount of time, but I'm sure we can do this many
yeah,
times. Yeah.
okay. Thank you, everybody,
So thank
for
you everyone and good night.